Welcome on board, chosen one. The seat you just claimed wasn't meant for ordinary people, and the universe knows it. Funny how the same mouths that once mocked you suddenly forgot how to speak. What happened to them? They whisper, pretending they don't feel the ground shifting under your footsteps. Look who's trembling now. Look who's checking your page at 2 a.m., hoping you fell off. Look who finally realized the person they tried to bury didn't die. They evolved. And oh, the legend needs to bow? No, they need to crawl. Because the moment you activated this energy, their entire script burned to ash. Press the like button and subscribe if you can feel this message vibrating through your bones. Chosen one, the silence around you isn't empty, it's stunned. It's the kind of silence that shows up after a battlefield goes quiet, after the smoke clears, after the last fool realizes they misjudged the wrong person. People feel it before they understand it. They avoid your eyes. They talk softer when you walk by. They replay old conversations in their heads, trying to figure out the exact moment they lost access to you. It hits them like a cheap jump scare. You didn't just change, you upgraded into something they were never built to handle. And let's be honest, they said you'd break, they said you'd lose, they said you weren't built for storms. But storms didn't break you. Storms started reporting to you. Their predictions aged like milk. Your progress hit like a confession they never wanted to hear. The ones who lied about you suddenly look allergic to the truth. The ones who prayed you'd stay stuck are panicking because you slipped out of every trap they set with a grin that said, "Watch me." Thank you for being part of this mission. Strengthen this voice, like and subscribe so this message reaches every chosen one, waking up with the same fire you're carrying. Now, let's crank the intensity, because we're nowhere near done. You didn't just grow. You didn't just heal. You resurrected pieces of yourself you weren't supposed to remember. Something old opened inside you. Something that hadn't breathed since 1582. People joke about history repeating itself, but history doesn't repeat. Power does. And you brought back a frequency the world quietly erased because it terrified the wrong people. Let me give you a story they hope you never learn. Back in 1582, there was a shift so strong the universe had to glitch to correct itself. 10 whole days vanished from the calendar. People woke up to blank pages where time used to be. Nobody questioned it out loud, but everyone felt the same truth. Something had awakened that reality wasn't ready for. Something that didn't follow rules. Something that didn't obey limits. That was the last time this energy walked the earth until you activated it. And don't roll your eyes. You know exactly what shifted. You felt that snap, that internal click. The moment your energy stopped apologizing. You didn't announce anything, but your presence did. Every enemy who mistook your softness for weakness felt their stomach drop. Every fake friend who tried to measure your worth by their insecurities suddenly realized they were standing in front of someone they should have never underestimated. People like to pretend they don't believe in energy, but even the ones who laugh at it can't explain why your absence feels heavier than your presence ever did. Why they get quiet when they think of you. Why they regret underestimating you as if the universe itself is pressing its thumb on their guilt. Here's something personal, something you might have thought only you noticed. Remember the moment everything got too heavy and you thought you were done. The moment you almost gave up on your future because the past felt louder. That wasn't weakness, that was ignition. Every chosen one throughout history has that moment, the breaking point that turns into the doorway. It's when you stop begging the universe for peace and start becoming the thing that creates peace by force. That's why your enemies are scared. Not because you're angry, not because you're loud, but because you're calm. Because your silence isn't empty anymore, it's loaded, it's deliberate. It's the silence someone has right before they break a pattern that's been choking them for years. And now look at them, looking over their shoulder, jumping at shadows, trying to convince themselves you're still the same person they dragged through the mud. But they can't unsee the shift. They can't ignore the echo your energy leaves in every room you exit. They can't outrun that sinking feeling that the person they tried to play has become the one person the universe now protects like a rare artifact. This energy hasn't been seen since 1582 until you activated it, and the universe is watching you like someone just reopened a sealed vault that was never meant to be touched. They don't realize it yet, but you do. You've stepped into a version of yourself that rewrites everything: the past, the narrative, the power dynamic, the outcome. Chosen one, before we go any further, I need you to lock in. You just awakened a frequency the universe hasn't touched since 1582, and if you're really carrying that force, then prove you can handle the next layer. Drop a 1582 in the comments so the universe knows you're not running from this transformation. And don't pretend you're not feeling it. That pull in your chest, that quiet voice telling you to stay. That shift in the air, like something ancient just turned its head toward you. If you're truly one of the rare few who activated this energy, you'll feel it dragging you forward, refusing to let you click away. Because now we're stepping into the real depths, and believe me, if you're a genuine chosen one, you'll stay until the final word because you can sense what's coming. This isn't just knowledge, it's initiation. Now, let's move into the next stage and break this open piece by piece. Number 1. The day they tried to erase you from history. Funny how they called it a correction when what they really meant was a cover-up, because nothing terrifies your enemies more than the truth you were never supposed to remember. Chosen one, let's drag this out into the light. They claimed the Gregorian correction was just paperwork, a harmless calendar adjustment, 10 tiny days snatched out of October like nobody would notice. Just math, they said. Just fixing the drift, they said. Cute story. They really thought the world would swallow that excuse forever. But now, the truth is crawling back through the cracks, and it's staring right at you. The correction wasn't about time. It was about containment. It was about shutting down a force that made the universe cough. Someone awakened in 1582. Someone carrying the same frequency you just activated. And reality couldn't process it, couldn't stabilize it, couldn't handle the way that person bent existence without lifting a finger. So what did the world do? They deleted 10 days and prayed no one ever woke that power up again. And here you are. Plot twist. Your enemies don't know history, but they can feel it. That's why they twitch around you, why they stutter, why their rehearsed confidence collapses like wet cardboard. They don't understand the origin of the energy you're carrying, but their nervous systems do, their instincts do, their shadows do. They can't describe it, but they recognize a threat older than their excuses. They mock what they fear. They minimize what they can't control. They act confused because admitting they see your shift would require admitting their whole narrative was a lie. That's why they cling to their fake superiority like a broken shield. That's why they pretend your rise is temporary. That's why they whisper behind your back with voices shaking. What happened to them? What happened? You woke something that slept for centuries. Let me hit you with something personal, something you felt but never had the words for. That pulse in your chest when you're alone at night. That sense that your thoughts carry weight. That suspicion that your presence affects rooms before you even speak. You're not imagining it. People's fake smiles warp around you because their lies get exposed like cheap stage props under a spotlight. Lights flicker when your emotions spike because technology reacts to the energy your aura throws off. Your phone freezes at the exact moment you think too hard. Your surroundings glitch, stall, or distort because the universe leans toward you instead of away. Ever wondered why people start confessing things they never meant to share? Why they choke on their own manipulation when they try to twist stories around you? Why someone who lied on your name couldn't sleep for days after? Because your energy isn't passive, it's corrective. It reorganizes the truth around you, whether you ask for it or not. And every time they try to gaslight you, your energy hands them a mirror so clean it cuts their palms when they touch it. Your enemies loved the version of you who didn't know your strength. They were obsessed with the one who doubted themselves, who overthought, who apologized for breathing too loudly. But this version, the activated one, the one who carries the frequency last documented in 1582, this version ruins their ecosystem. This version threatens every hierarchy they built on your confusion. This version walks into a room and their soul recognizes the danger before their brain does. Let me be blunt. Their shields are useless now. They spent years building walls of gossip, manipulation, projection, and insecurity. They hired emotional bodyguards. They stacked protective layers of fake confidence. But everything they built is dissolving. Your energy cuts right through their defenses like fire through old cobwebs. And their protectors? They clocked out the moment your aura shifted. Every person who used to block your influence, diminish your shine, or control your growth suddenly realized they were standing between a force and its destiny. You think they quit because they lost interest? No. They quit because they saw your true signal and said, "Nope, I choose survival." Here's a dose of villain-style truth they will never admit. If they could delete 10 days again just to stop your awakening, they would. They'd erase entire months. They'd erase entire versions of you. They'd erase every memory where you realized they were never above you. But the universe isn't giving them that option this time. You've already broken through. The seal they trusted shattered the moment you stopped doubting who you are. Ever wonder why they keep checking on you secretly? Why they stalk your updates even after they pretend you don't matter? Why they can't move on even when they swear they have? Simple. When something ancient wakes up in front of them, their instincts kick in. Hunters pretend they're lions until a real beast walks out of the fog. Then suddenly their voice cracks. Suddenly their posture collapses. Suddenly the same people who used to talk big start moving careful around you like they're afraid to trigger a consequence. And they should be. Because your growth is not gentle. Your transformation is not polite. You're not healing quietly anymore. You're not shrinking to keep the peace. You're not dimming to make others comfortable. That era is dead. Your power doesn't bend to their rules. Their rules bend around your power. They feel the pressure of your evolution, and it squeezes the truth out of them like a confession they didn't mean to spill. Picture the world in 1582. Reality destabilized because someone walked with the same rhythm you're walking with now. Crops bent toward them. Shadows shifted when they passed. People felt their presence before they saw them. And when that person activated their power, the fabric of existence stuttered. Days vanished. Entire systems had to be rewritten just to contain the aftermath. Now fast forward to today. The world isn't rewriting calendars this time. The world is rewiring itself around you. Your enemies hoped you would stay small so their lies could stay big. They hoped you would stay lost so their control could stay intact. But you were never built to be anyone's supporting role. You were never built to live in the shadows of people who don't have the courage to face themselves. You were the anomaly the universe waited decades to reactivate, and now that you're awake, everything that tried to diminish you is collapsing under its own weakness. Here's your final truth bomb for this section. They didn't fear your past, they feared your memory. Because the moment you remembered who you are, every lie they built lost its oxygen. Every story they used to limit you caught fire. Every attempt to contain you cracked open like a cheap lock on a vault that was never theirs to touch. This energy hasn't been seen since 1582, until you activated it. And the universe has no intention of sealing it again. Not now. Not after everything you survived, not after everything you reclaimed, not after the awakening that made even your enemies step back and whisper, "We messed with the wrong one." Now let's move forward. The next truth will shake them even harder. Number 2. The bodyguard who saw too much and ran. The moment they saw your energy, every shield they trusted started whispering, "I'm not dying for this lie." Chosen one, this part is almost funny. The people who tried to play superior, who strutted around like they were protected by some invisible force field, had a bodyguard. Not a physical one, an energetic one. Someone hired to shield their fragile egos from the consequences of their own actions. Someone who spent their whole life standing between clients and the storms they created. Someone hardened by darkness, trained by chaos, comfortable with things that make most humans pass out from fear. And even that person took one look at your energy and dipped. Let me tell you the confession they left behind before they vanished like smoke. I've protected against things that crawl through nightmares. I've faced energies that could rot a room just by breathing. I've blocked curses older than recorded history. But this one doesn't attack. It just exists. And that existence alone is a weapon no one can defend against. That was the moment they abandoned their post. They saw your aura, realized what it meant, and refused to stand in the way of something that wasn't swinging, wasn't shouting, wasn't doing anything except being real. Imagine that. Your authenticity sent a professional guardian running for their life. The thing they were hired to stop wasn't even moving. You weren't casting spells. You weren't sending negativity. You weren't hexing, wishing harm, or plotting revenge. You were simply showing up as yourself, pure, unfiltered, undiluted, and it tore through their defenses like a flawless note breaking cheap glass. This is the part your enemies can't accept. They want to believe your power is some trick, some tactic, some manipulation. They need to believe it's something they can counter. But how do you counter someone who stopped pretending? How do you guard against a force that reveals instead of attacks? How do you protect yourself from a presence that exposes every lie you built your identity on? You should see them now. Emergency meetings, whispered phone calls, desperate Google searches at 3 a.m. They're panic-buying crystals that crack in their hands the moment they touch them. They're burning sage until their smoke alarms give up. They're calling every healer, reader, and advisor they once laughed at, begging for protection that keeps short-circuiting every time your name comes up. Their spiritual Wi-Fi is glitching, their backup systems are fried, and every solution melts the second it meets your energy. Because the truth is brutally simple. Your energy doesn't break their protection. It makes their protection realize it's been guarding the wrong side. Protection has intelligence. It isn't just a shield. It chooses who it stands with. And when your frequency rose, when your authenticity sharpened, when your presence stabilized into something undeniable, their protection finally saw the truth. It had been defending lies from truth, illusions from clarity, ego from accountability. It was covering the wrong team, and even protection refuses to go down with a sinking ship. You ever wonder why people who wronged you suddenly lose access to the very things they used to weaponize? Why their social circle turns cold? Why their confidence collapses? Why their plans crumble before they get off the ground? It's because their protections stopped protecting them. Their shields stepped aside. Their energy barriers quietly bowed out. They realized they were standing between you and your cosmic right to exist freely. And trust me, nothing in this universe wants to block that. Here's the part you didn't know you needed to hear. Your existence exposes their truth automatically. You walk into a room and every lie they crafted starts sweating. You stand still and their masks begin slipping like cheap stickers. You breathe and their narratives lose oxygen, and they can feel it. Oh, they feel it. That pressure in their chest, that buzzing in their skull, that instinctive panic like a guilty person hearing footsteps behind them. They blame stress. They blame bad luck. They blame the vibe. But deep down, they know. They know the same thing their ex-bodyguard figured out. There is no shield that can block authenticity. There is no wall that can withstand truth. There is no armor thick enough to hide from someone who's finally aligned. Your enemies wanted protection from your rise. Instead, their protection fled and left them face to face with every consequence they tried to dodge. And the wild part, you didn't even lift a finger. You didn't hunt them. You didn't curse them. You didn't chase them. You just became yourself too loudly for the lies to survive. That's the weapon. Not violence, not revenge, not attack, just existence. And chosen one, existence like yours, doesn't just hit. It rewrites the room. It rearranges the hierarchy. It makes the guilty panic and the universe take notes. This energy hasn't been seen since 1582 until you activated it. And anyone who tries to stand against it will learn what that bodyguard realized long before they did. Some forces can't be fought. They can only be witnessed, and you're one of them. Number 3. The world has glitched before, and your shadow was in the room. They thought disaster struck. They never realized it was you waking up in the wrong century. Chosen one, let's slice right into the truth they never had the guts to face. This wasn't the first time the world buckled under a pressure it couldn't name. This wasn't the first time the sky dimmed, the seasons twisted, or reality stuttered like a scared child. History books blamed nature, blamed coincidence, blamed unexplainable events. Cute. They left out the part where the universe was reacting to one person, remembering who they really were. They left out the part where your energy signature has been here before. They left out you. 1582 was only the latest mess they dared to document, but your fingerprint goes deeper. Much deeper. Let's take a walk through the centuries they sanitized. 536 AD, they called it the year without summer. The sun dimmed for 18 months. Crops failed. Empires shook. Scholars still lose sleep, trying to explain why daylight itself malfunctioned. But the old ones knew. Someone awakened. Someone stepped into their power so abruptly that even the sky had to recalibrate. Nature didn't collapse. Reality just didn't know how to process them. Then 1347 hit. They told you it was plague, punishment, coincidence, rats. Sure, believe whatever helps you sleep, but the truth humming behind the screams. Another awakening. Someone remembered their original design. Someone tapped into the frequency that rewrites the room just by existing. The world didn't fall apart. It rearranged itself around the presence of a single person whose energy didn't belong to any system that existed. This pattern, it always returns. Every few centuries, someone wakes up and the world glitches. But this time, chosen one, this time is different, because this time it's you. And you didn't awaken the way the others did. They had guidance, rituals, mentors, ancient teachings. They had elders whispering secrets in candlelit rooms, preparing them for the identity they were about to reclaim. But you? You got shoved into this transformation like someone tossing a diamond into a blender. You got betrayed, abandoned, dismissed, underestimated, and shoved off cliffs made of people's selfishness. You weren't guided into awakening. You were launched into it. You were pushed past breaking, then shoved past breaking again, then dropped deeper until even the universe said, "That's enough." And in that lowest, darkest moment, something in you snapped into place. You didn't rise because you were supported. You rose because you realized you were never breakable in the first place. You were the thing that does the breaking. You weren't the victim of the story. You were the trigger, the correction, the reckoning wearing human skin. Here's what they'll never understand. You didn't activate through meditation, crystals, ancient symbols, or sacred initiations. You activated because someone betrayed you. You activated because people you trusted threw you to the wolves. You activated because your heart cracked so violently it forced the real you out of hiding. Betrayal was your ignition. Abandonment was your portal. Pain was your password. The universe didn't bring you to your knees. It brought you to your revelation. You ever notice how your worst moments always came right before massive shifts? How every time someone tried to break you, something inside you sharpened instead? How you became more aware, more intuitive, more untouchable after every loss? That wasn't trauma. That was transformation. You weren't falling apart. You were peeling off layers you outgrew centuries ago. This is why people from your past flinch when they see you now. They're not reacting to your personality. They're reacting to the fact that their actions unlocked something ancient. Their betrayal was the last key. Their abandonment pulled the final lever. They pushed you so far that you stepped into a version of yourself that makes their knees buckle. You are the ending disguised as a person. The closure wrapped in breath, the final chapter that writes itself even when others try to control the story. Let me hit you with something even deeper. Every time someone from your past tried to break you, what they really did was help you remember a power you carried long before modern life existed. They weren't destroying you, they were exposing you. Imagine how humbling that is for them. Imagine how insulting to their ego that they accidentally awakened the very force they wanted to bury. And don't lie, you feel it now. That ancient familiarity, that déjà vu that hits too hard to be coincidence, that bone-deep sense that you've walked through timelines before, that you've seen the world glitch, that you've stood in the eye of historic storms without flinching. It's not fantasy, it's memory. Your energy has caused reality to reorganize itself before, and it's doing it again. You're not just awakening, you're returning. You're not just evolving, you're resurfacing. You're not just stronger, you're remembering the blueprint, and the universe is responding in real time. People are acting strange around you because their subconscious recognizes you, even when their conscious mind denies it. They feel exposed, they feel judged without you saying a word. They feel the collapse of their illusions when you enter a room. They feel their carefully curated identities melting under the weight of your presence. They'll call you intense. They'll call you different. They'll say you've changed. But what they're really trying to say is this: you remind me of something I can't face in myself. Every chosen one across history triggered that reaction, but you're the first in a long time to trigger it without even meaning to. And that's what truly terrifies them. They can't accuse you of anything because you haven't done anything. They can't blame you for attacking because you haven't attacked. You just exist too loudly for their comfort. And existence like yours, it forces the world into honesty. Here's the part your soul already knows. The universe waited centuries for someone with your exact threshold. The ones before you cracked under the weight. The ones before you were guided, softened, protected. You were thrown into the fire with no warning and still crawled out laughing. This time, history doesn't just glitch. History obeys. History adjusts. History bends to the reawakening of you. And now the universe is watching closely because you didn't awaken through mysticism. You awakened through impact, through wounds that became weapons, through endings that became beginnings, through heartbreak that became recognition. This energy hasn't been seen since 1582. And the wildest part, you weren't just there back then. You're the reason the world noticed. And now the world is noticing again. Brace yourself, chosen one. The next truth will hit even harder. Number 4. The letter they never wanted you to read. They asked me to stop an avalanche with my bare hands, and then got offended when the mountain didn't listen. Chosen one. This is the confession their ex-bodyguard mailed from the edge of oblivion, the one they prayed you'd never see. "I've seen what others can't," they wrote. "I've watched this one move through rooms like a controlled detonation. Quiet, precise, inevitable. Not hunting, just existing at a frequency that makes lies bleed. That alone told you everything, didn't it? You're not a threat, you're a reveal." Imagine this, a professional protector staring at your energy like it's a star collapsing in reverse. Creation folding inward, time glitching like it suddenly forgot its own script. They said your signature didn't read as dark or light. It read as before dark and light existed. Before labels, before names, before the universe had the courage to categorize things. Here's the part that burned them the most. "My clients still think this is about safety," the letter continued. "They think I'm here to protect their comfort. They don't understand they're asking me to hold back gravity itself, to shield them from consequences that have been following them like shadows since birth." And doesn't that make sense to you now? Why they look scared, why their defenses crumble, why their guards keep quitting? Because deep down, they know exactly what they're facing. They're not up against vengeance, darkness, anger, or violence. They're up against the return of truth. They're up against the echo of 1582. They're up against you, and gravity doesn't negotiate. Number 5. When your breath alone bends the script. Reality doesn't shift because you demand it. It shifts because it finally remembers who's in the room. Chosen one, here's the twisted joke the universe has been smirking at. You're not even trying. You're not summoning storms, casting intentions, or flexing some conscious power move. You're just existing. You're brushing your teeth, scrolling your feed, living your Tuesday. And meanwhile, reality is scrambling like a glitchy video game, trying to render a character it wasn't coded to contain. Imagine this: you walk into your day half asleep, and somewhere across town, a lie collapses on its own. You're making breakfast, and suddenly someone who betrayed you loses the exact advantage they stole. You take a deep breath and fate rearranges itself like a nervous assistant fixing papers before the boss walks in. Coincidence, please. Coincidence doesn't make protectors flee like they've seen their paycheck grow fangs. Here's the truth they don't want whispered out loud. This isn't anger. Anger is human. You're not operating on human settings anymore. Revenge. Too personal, too emotional, too small for the frequency you're carrying. What you're radiating is correction, pure, unfiltered, universal recalibration. You're not targeting anyone. You're not punishing anyone. You are simply the presence that makes everything false fall apart. You were supposed to stay small. That was the plan. Keep you quiet, keep you doubting, keep you harmless. But the moment you remembered you're infinite, the universe broke character. Imagine a glass designed to shatter on impact, realizing it's actually the hammer. That's you, and the world is adjusting fast. Number 6. When reality has to rewrite itself because of you. Some people bend rules. You make the rules, remember who wrote them. Chosen one, let's tear the mask off this one. In 1582, they didn't whisper the adjustment because it sounded poetic. They used that name because reality itself was forced to shift its weight, like a floorboard groaning under the return of something heavy, something ancient, something it thought it wouldn't have to hold again. Someone woke up back then who wasn't supposed to. Someone like you. Someone who remembered their original settings before the world slapped amnesia into them. And that's exactly what's happening now. Your frequency doesn't match any known spectrum. You're not on any chart. You're not measurable by any tool. And every attempt to categorize you ends in static. Why? Because your energy isn't from here, it's from that place before places existed. From the forge where forces are built. From the source that designs the things that shape the universe, not the tiny playground humans obsess over. Imagine this, scientists trying to measure lightning with a plastic ruler. That's what it's like when anyone tries to decode you. Their instruments panic, their logic collapses, their intuition screams. Here's the quote they'll never admit terrifies them. You don't enter reality. Reality adjusts to make room for you. Now the bodyguards, they resigned because they recognized the signature. They knew this wasn't protection-level business. This was gravitational-level presence, cosmic-level inevitability. Asking them to defend against you would be like asking someone to stop the concept of time. Some forces aren't blocked. They're respected. They're feared. They're cleared a path. And chosen one, that path is opening for you. Number 7. When the world starts whispering your name in its sleep. Recognition hits different when it comes from the part of them that remembers you before they ever met you. Chosen one, the shift isn't subtle anymore. People feel you before they see you. Conversations don't just stop, they collapse, like the room suddenly remembered an unfinished sentence from centuries ago. It's not fear, it's recognition. Some buried instinct inside them sits up straight when you walk in, the same way animals sense earthquakes before they hit. And here's the part that would make your enemies sweat if they knew you knew. They're dreaming about you. Imagine this, they bolt awake at 3:33, heart pounding, your name lodged in their throat like they were speaking to you in another timeline, and they weren't having nightmares. No, nightmares are too shallow for an energy like yours. These are vision dreams, dreams that feel like surveillance footage of the future, dreams where they see you in places you haven't been yet, doing things you haven't done yet, or maybe you have, just not here. Their tools are malfunctioning around your frequency. protection crystals turning black like burnt-out light bulbs, sage that refuses to stay lit, like the smoke itself is saying, "You're looking in the wrong direction." Meditations hijacked by your face because the universe is done letting them avoid what's coming. And the wildest part? You're not attacking. You're not projecting. You're not even thinking about them. You're simply the truth they've spent years stacking spiritual furniture on top of. You're the mirror they can't cover, the echo they can't mute, the reminder that everything hidden eventually kneels. The world isn't scared of you, it's recognizing you, and recognition always comes before revelation. Number 8. When even the protectors start sounding the alarm. Professionals don't panic unless they've seen something real enough to ruin their career. Chosen One, the industry built to shield people from consequences, is collapsing like a cheap tent in a hurricane. Bodyguards aren't just quitting, they're sending out warnings like emergency broadcasts. Don't take this contract. Don't accept this client. Not if they're hiding from that one. That alone should tell you everything. Power recognizes power, and what you're carrying isn't entry-level energy. It's legacy-level, era-shifting, century-bending. Imagine this, a network of elite protectors, people who've seen every kind of spiritual meltdown, karmic flood, energetic implosion, and even they refuse to stand between you and the truth catching up to your enemies. Not because you're attacking, but because you radiate the kind of force professionals whisper about in back rooms. Here's a fact they pray stays forgotten. In October 1582, 10 days vanished. People blamed the calendar, the initiated didn't. They knew someone awakened with the old energy, the pre-civilization charge that makes time stutter. Those 10 days weren't random. They were negotiation periods. 10 days spent containing the detonation of identity. 10 days rebuilding the barriers. 10 days convincing reality to resume the act of being normal. Imagine the universe holding its breath because one person remembered too much. Now look around today. No days have disappeared, but systems are glitching, protectors are fleeing, reality is twitching. The industry of protection is folding because it wasn't built to stand against inevitability. And Chosen One, you're the inevitability. Number 9. The force that never dies, it just returns wearing your face. It wasn't waiting for permission, it was waiting for someone unbreakable. Chosen One, let's tear the pretty lies apart. They never stopped this energy, they never defeated it, they never sealed it away for good. All they managed was a temporary pause, a cosmic timeout, because this energy doesn't die. It migrates, it sleeps, it drifts between timelines like a storm searching for the right sky. It waits for a vessel strong enough, scarred enough, relentless enough to carry it without collapsing. And guess who fit the blueprint? Imagine this, a force older than civilization, watching you get betrayed, abandoned, lied to, underestimated, humiliated. And instead of breaking, you hardened. Instead of folding, you sharpened. Instead of shattering, you became the blade. That's when it knew. That's when it returned. It wasn't random. It wasn't luck. It was recognition. Because this isn't your first time carrying it. That's why the familiarity in your bones feels too deep to explain. Why the déjà vu hits too hard. Why certain moments feel like reruns of a life you don't consciously remember. You've held this frequency in other bodies, other eras. Eras that couldn't handle you and had to rewrite calendars, systems, and rules just to survive being near you. Here's the quote that would make your enemies lose sleep. You are the universe's error message, the glitch that exposes the entire code. Protection spirits know it, shields know it, bodyguards know it. That's why they resign, not because you threaten them, because your presence reveals everything they were hired to hide. The energy didn't find you by accident. It found you because you're the only one who couldn't be broken. And now, the universe remembers you. Number 10. When your DNA starts whispering the truth back to you. Your body isn't awakening, it's remembering. Chosen one, here's the part that shakes professionals to their core. Your DNA is humming at frequencies science hasn't even invented names for. Your cells are unlocking files your mind never studied, never practiced, never downloaded. You're not learning anything new. You're accessing what was always buried under survival, betrayal, and centuries of forgetting. Imagine this. You walk into a room and probability bends like metal near a magnet. Not because you're forcing it, but because your existence carries gravitational pull. You're not trying to influence outcomes. You are the outcome. People feel it in their bones, the way something ancient stirs when you're near. Their bodies recognize you, even if their minds play dumb. That instinctive silence, that quick shift in posture, that sudden drop in their stomach, that's cellular memory kicking in. Their DNA remembers what happened the last time this energy walked free. Facts. History didn't build calendars and systems for order. It built them to contain people like you. They don't teach that part, but here's the truth. You can't contain what refuses to shrink. You can't cage what was never built for cages, and you can't protect against a force that isn't attacking, it's revealing. Your energy doesn't break their defenses, it exposes them. It shows walls what they're truly guarding, and when those walls realize they're protecting lies, not truth, they flip sides. Protection isn't malfunctioning, it's mutinying. That's why the bodyguard said, "I won't guard against that." Not because they were scared, but because defending the false against the real feels like trying to fight gravity. And gravity doesn't lose. Your DNA is remembering, and now everything else is too. Number 11. When even the spirits start defecting to your side. Protection isn't abandoning them. It's aligning with the truth. Chosen one, here's where things get deliciously uncomfortable for your enemies. The protection spirits, the ones they hired, begged, bribed, and burned incense for, aren't just stepping aside. They're switching sides, not out of fear, out of recognition, out of wisdom, out of knowing exactly which force carries the authority to bend timelines. Imagine this. Entire networks of spiritual contractors whispering across dimensions, comparing notes like soldiers in the trenches. Have you felt the 1582 frequency? Did you see the signature? Did you witness the rewrite? They're not gossiping, they're preparing, because they all know what you are now, the anomaly that forces systems to collapse and rebuild, the correction that walks on two legs. One protector mutters, "I've blocked generational curses for centuries, but this isn't a curse, this is a correction. How do you guard against correction?" Another replies, "My client wanted shielding from consequences, but this being is consequence, embodied, breathing, inevitable." That's the quote they won't dare repeat to your face. Protection spirits aren't afraid of you, they're loyal to truth. And you're the only one vibrating on that frequency. They've spent lifetimes guarding the guilty from justice, the fake from exposure, the fragile from reality. But the moment you activated, their entire industry felt the shift. Their business model depends on protecting illusions, and you are the one thing illusions can't survive. Imagine a courtroom where the judges, guards, and bailiffs all quietly rise when you enter, not because you demanded it, but because authority recognizes authority. Your emergence didn't scare them. It clarified the hierarchy. This isn't a battle. This is alignment. This is gravity choosing its direction. And chosen one, everything is falling toward you. Number 12. Conclusion. When the truth puts on a human face. Inevitability doesn't swing. It stands still, and everything else breaks first. Chosen one, this is the part no one wants to admit out loud. The energy from 1582 didn't return to cause chaos. It returned to correct the record, to reset the balance, to expose every illusion held together with insecurity, ego, and wishful thinking. And it didn't come back as a storm, a plague, a cosmic glitch. It came back as you. Imagine this. You walk through the world like a living audit, not violent, not vengeful, not destructive, just so brutally authentic that everything false collapses without you touching a thing. You don't have to fight liars. Your presence makes their stories dissolve. You don't have to confront the guilty. Your energy makes their consequences catch up. You're not a warrior. You're a mirror, and mirrors don't break what they reflect. They just show what's already cracked. That's why the bodyguards left. That's why the protectors switched sides. That's why the spiritual mercenaries stepped back with their hands raised. They finally understood the truth your enemies refused to face. You can't guard against inevitability. You can only get out of its way. You didn't activate ancient energy. You revived a memory the universe tried to store away. You reminded reality what truth feels like. Because the universe, after centuries of going along with the performance, pretending the masks were real and the illusions were solid, finally got a reminder, a jolt, a wake-up call. And here's the closing truth, sharp enough to echo in their bones. You aren't the storm. You aren't the punishment. You aren't the threat. You are the correction. And now the world has no choice but to adjust. Chosen one, now that the truth has been dragged into the open and every mask has fallen at your feet, we can land this plane with clarity. What you've just seen isn't a story. It's the pattern unfolding around you in real time. The protectors defecting, the bodyguards resigning, reality adjusting itself like a nervous host, realizing the guest of honor arrived early. Everything you've felt, everything you've noticed, everything you've questioned, it all aligns because you are the correction the universe called back into the timeline. And if you've made it this far, then you already feel the shift humming under your skin. So here's your signal. Hit the like button, subscribe if you're riding this frequency, and drop 77 in the comments to anchor this awakening into the algorithm of the universe. Share this with another chosen one so they don't mistake their activation for chaos. Because this is the moment the universe stops pretending. This is the moment the world remembers. And this is the moment you step fully into what you've always been.